Hi there and welcome to yet another video on the Project Corner. Today we're going to take a look at part 3 of creating a program schedule. Now part 3 is about the resource pool. But let's do a recap of what we did previously. In the earlier videos I shared what we're going to do with the program schedule as a whole. And in the second video I've shown you how to create templates. Now we created two kinds of templates. We created a process template and we created a start template. So let's have a brief look at the process template that we created earlier. So here it is, where you see there is a phase, there are tasks in there, there are two phases, there are milestones. Then if I go and have a closer look at one of those tasks, I see that there is even a nice dependency going on here. So this is the process template, the place where we have the process of a schedule that we're going to use within our daily lives. However, this also contains content that is created in the start template. So let's have a brief look at that one. So start template, I'll open that. Here we won't see any tasks, but what we do have is our project information. So we have our changed project calendar. We have different fields available. So let me look at the custom fields. Here we have location and budget KPI, as well as resource role and offices. And we're going to use the start template to create any of the files that are not related to a specific process. And this is a nice segue to our new file that we're going to create, which is actually called the resource pool. And you can call it anything you like, it's not in the name, but it is a special type of project file. So let's click on Save As, and I'll save this file as the resource pool. Now it doesn't need to be any different type, because it's still going to be an MPP file. So let's click on Save. So right from the start, the name of the project summary task is changed to resource pool, which is quite nice because we're not going to use the program Gantt chart view. We're going to use the resource sheet view. And here we are going to add multiple people to our resource pool. Now keep in mind, these can be anyone within your organization that is associated with projects. It can be people, such as myself, and a couple of other people, but it can also be machines and costs and equipment. So nails could be equipment, drill could be a machine, and we can have capex as being costs. So let's change the values here. Drill is actually being associated as a work resource because when you use the drill, it will consume time as well as costs. And nails has a different value. So pieces is the material. And we can also add standard rates such as myself. Let's make Gerwin a bit more expensive. How about Dave being the specialist that he is? Will. And a nail a piece will cost you roughly 10 cents probably. And then the drill, well, the drill is free. And capex is actually a cost resource, and you don't assign it a standard rate because it will be a cost per assignment. Now these are the out-of-the-box fields that we're going to use for our resource pool, but we created a couple of extra fields as well. So let's have a look at text 1 and text 2. And these were the roles and the offices. So I'll be the lead consultant, Pete will be a consultant, Gerwin is the Power BI specialist and Dave is a YouTuber, for instance. And we'll have Will being another lead consultant. And currently I'm in The Hague and the YouTuber is in Copenhagen and the other lead consultant is in Amsterdam. So this information is now being stored within the resource pool. Now, the main deal with the resource pool is that it will be able to link between different projects. Now, so let's save the resource pool and see that in action. I'll close the project and I'll open up a simple process template and we'll link it to the resource pool. So I've closed down the resource pool and now let's open the process template and create a simple project. And that simple project that is going to be linked to the resource pool. So let's call this project project 1. I'm going to go to desktop, to TPC, program schedule, and let's call this project 1 because I don't have any inspiration. Project 1. I'll save this. The first thing that changes is the process template is now called program 1. No, project. Process template is now project 1. I'll change the name of the project summary name here as well. Project 1. And let's change a couple of values here where I will have a longer duration for task 1, task 2, and maybe task 3 and task 4 as well. And let's add some values to the timeline as well. This will instantly make the project more readable for anyone that is interested in the schedule. We'll need to change the project start date as well because we're looking at the future rather than looking in the past. This is the date of the current date. So let's set it to the 1st of October 2018. And here comes the part where the resource pool comes into play, because currently this is a project that is completely separate from any other file. The resource sheet is empty, so I don't have any resources that I can consume within the tasks that I have in the schedule. Now, in order for the resource pool to be assigned to this project, what we need to do is we need to open that resource pool file again. So let me head over to File, Open, and I can select it using the recent setup and click on the resource pool itself. Now here it is again. This file has all our resources, and here is the project file that we're going to use it for. So let's head over to Resources and then head over to Resource Pool. And then we click on Share Resources and it opens up the Share Resources menu. Now here you have the option to have the project use its own resources or use resources from a resource pool. And it actually says here it requires at least one open resource pool. Well, technically it can only work with one resource pool, so there's no multiple resource pools scenario here in projects. But let's click on the use resources and it automatically selects the other open project, which is the resource pool file. So let's click on OK. Now after that you will immediately see that the project 1 currently has the exact same project resources as the resource pool does. So let's go in and assign some tasks. So here we have a few tasks, and let me actually use the program Gantt that we created earlier, and let's say that this project doesn't take place in Amsterdam but it happens in Copenhagen, and we'll start with some amber KPIs as well. Because yeah, we don't know if we have the budget to start with. So I'll make everything amber. So now we can add some resources to task 1. So let's have Eric here, and let's actually assign Eric to every one of these tasks and see what happens when we save the project file and when we close it. We are actually back in the resource pool file, and what we can see here is that if we open up resource information now, and we'll do that by heading over to view and then doing a split and then looking at the resource graph. And here we see that Eric actually has capacity allocated in a project. Now we don't see which project here per se, but we can have another view open here called the resource usage. And here it says task 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we add the project file as well, or the project column as well, we will see which project it has attached to it. Now if we have that file open, and I'll do that right away, we will see that it doesn't show the complete file path anymore, but just the name of the project. So this is very nice because now I have project 1 has allocations of Eric van Herk, and if I save the project, the resource pool file, I'll just briefly set it back to its default settings as being the resource sheet. I'll save this one and I'll close it. Now some things will happen with the resource pool file and any of the projects that you have associated with it because of the link between the resource pool file and the individual projects. Project needs to ask you if you want to open the resource pool file as well, or have it as a read-only file open, or have it as a changed file. So let's have a brief look at that. I'll open project 1. And we'll get the request to either open the resource pool information or don't open it. So if I open up the resource pool, I will see assignments across all the share files, which is actually quite nice if you need to do new resource assignments, but can be a hassle because it loads another file as well, and that takes up enterprise resources, or it takes up project resources. So here I have the resource pool file, and it opens it up not as a read-write version, but only as a read-only file. And this is actually quite nice because we are only going to use it as a reference case between the different files. So let's see what happens when I create another project. Let's call it project 2. And give Eric another set of assignments, and let's see it having a over allocation between the projects but not within a single project itself. So to do this quite easily, I will just change the project 1 to be called project 2, and I'll save this file in a different name. I'll call this project 2. And here it has a nice request, a nice pop-up. I've changed the name of the project and I've changed the file name as well. So here it will ask me, do you want to have the change also reflect in the resource pool? So let's click on OK and let it reflect that there are actually 2 projects that have assigned resources to it. Now when that happened, immediately there are 4 burning people besides the tasks, and this is because Eric is over allocated. He has 2 things that he does simultaneously. He has project 1 and project 2 being the over allocation. So let's change the start date of the project to reflect a later date, being the 5th of November. And here we see that there's only one task that has a over allocation. So once I save this project, I click on save and I'll close the file. Let's reopen the resource pool and see what happens with Eric as the resource. When I open up a resource pool that has been shared with the projects, there's a new option of opening the resource pool in different modes. The first option is to open the resource pool as a read-only. This will enable other people to work with the resource pool from their projects. The second option is to open it as a read-write version, where you will be able to make changes such as adding more resources, changing rates, all the different kinds of things that you will need to do with custom fields or native fields. And then the third option really is a doozy, because if you have multiple projects connected with this resource pool, there's actually a whole lot being opened right away. It will actually open up all the projects that are linked to it into a new master project file. We'll do this in a separate video, but let's for now have a look at the read-only version of the resource pool. Alright, so here it is, where we see Eric van Herk is currently over allocated, and if we look at the details, we will see that Eric has some nice over allocation in October. Here he is allocated, and actually in the November start, the start of the second project, you will see that there is a 100% over allocation of Eric's time. So without having either of the projects open, a resource pool manager can now actually look into that and have a clear view on how the resources are allocated between the different projects. Because this is a graph, but you can also use the resource usage view, wherein you can navigate to the different tasks and see how that reflects the allocation of a user. Here we see that Eric is fully booked for the whole of October, and then in the start of November he is over allocated between two tasks. Task 4 for project 1 and a task 1 for project 2. So that's it for the resource pool introduction. There's a number of things that you need to keep in mind here. The resource pool is a read-only file from the moment that you link the first projects to it. You need to select read-write in order to change any of the values within it. And keep in mind that the resource pool is ideal for when you're going to share resources across different projects, such as in the portfolio or program schedule that we're currently working on. Next up on the program schedule series is where we're going to create and populate the program schedule itself. So we're going to create a number of projects, see how they relate in a program schedule, and how we're going to work with the program schedule together with the resource pool and the templates that we created earlier. With that, I hope you liked the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And keep in mind, there's also a newsletter involved with the Project Corner. And if you are signed up to it, you will receive this resource pool file as well as any other files that I've created in the videos previously.